For those of us who will be entering military service after residency, what advice do you have about transitioning to military medicine from civilian residency? Well, I have no ability to answer your question directly, but the advice I'd give anybody to going into the military is just drink the Kool-Aid. That's how you get along and love every minute of it. So with that, I'll let the rest of our panelists actually answer your question.
You're going to go ahead, Dr. Ellenbogen?
Oh, Dr. Wolf, I can't remember. Were you a commander when you left, or were you a captain when you left?
Commander.
Commander. Okay, commander.
Well, thank you. I think, and it's been mentioned before, but flexibility is key, and creativity, flexibility and creativity, because it looks very different than regular medicine, if you will. But I tell you what, it's so much fun. I loved every second of it. You already heard, my crazy stories of how I kind of gained entrance into the system. I collaborated with absolutely everybody. I operated with orthopedic surgery. I operated with ENT. I operated with my vascular colleagues. It's one of these places where with the military, and specifically if you're doing, if you're a neurosurgeon, you don't get the huge case numbers, right? I mean, right now at Wake Forest, I was doing 500 cases a year. You do 150 cases a year if you have a busy military practice as a neurosurgeon. But that doesn't mean you necessarily get less out of it. It's, optimize what you're doing. And so I learned so many wonderful techniques, really broadened what I did by operating with lots of other surgeons. I was out there during several government shutdowns. We kept shutting down over and over again. And, this sequestration thing. And my guess is that'll come around again. You might only live through one pandemic, but you'll get sequestration several times. And so, what does that mean? Well, that meant that they just stopped buying everything suddenly. And there was no, foresight of, well, let's talk to all of the different chairs and division heads and figure out, what things are most important and phase out the things that are less important. They just stopped buying everything across the board. Well, that means that you run out of all of the supplies that you actually need very quickly. And so, we got to the point where I came into the OR and they said, Dr. Wolf, what size gloves? And I said, well, I've been here for several years. I wear size 7. They said, well, we don't have those anymore. I said, oh, all right, good. I said, well, how about 6.5? They said, no, you can do 6 or 8.5. We've run out of everything else. And so, it's you just have to have this idea of flexibility. You always have to be thinking one step ahead of the game. We trained all of the nurses going out to the desert. And so every 3 months we had a whole brand new OR staff, essentially. And so learning to make sure you're talking aloud and they're, you know what you want and you know what you need. You've been doing this a long time. They have no idea. And so, I would verbalize everything that I was doing in a very non-condescending manner, right? This is all about teaching. You're training. The military has that extra added excitement of training a group of people to go out and do something in a very austere environment. And so, I would talk about what the next steps were 3 steps beforehand so that we could make sure we had what we needed. But then I also, as I went through, kind of talked about, well, if we don't happen to have a drill, this is how we would do it. I talked about, in Miami, it was an austere environment half of the time. And, we had episodes where the new Pyxis system, where all of our drills, everything was locked in there, went down. And so we had no drill bits. And here we are with an osteotome chiseling through somebody's posterior fossa to get out a hematoma. I mean, these things, they actually happen in real life sometimes, but they certainly happen in the military. I've closed with every possible kind of suture, again, because we ran out. And so just kind of being able to adapt to what's happening and do it with a good attitude, a positive can-do attitude, because you have to, and it's either that or you sit back and you're just miserable because nothing's going the right way. If you expect that probably nothing will go as you anticipated, it's going to be great. And it serves you very well. I tell you what, I got to Wake Forest and the instruments were all so shiny, and I was able to run my OR at very, very low cost. We get these cost reports and they actually said, how are you running with such low cost? And I was just used to doing that. I actually knew the costs of different things, sometimes because I had to pay for them myself. It was something that I really needed. And I found out that size 7 gloves were something I really needed. 8.5 did not cut it. Just wasn't going to work. So I think that that's kind of my story of the differences in military medicine.
I wonder if that's why the Marine Corps doesn't have any doctors, because if the Navy's running out of supplies, the Marine Corps definitely doesn't have any supplies.
Yeah, no, I agree with Commander Wolf very much. I think you can either go in there and hate yourself because you owe the military. I owed the military 10 years. You can, for college, medical school, and a few other things, and or you can have the most fun in your life. And the friends that I have in the military, for those of you that have to go, have been friends for life. I mean, literally, I still stay in touch with the people that were my commanders, that were, half of my students got deployed to Iraq. At one time, I trained every neurosurgeon that was in Iraq. Okay. I mean, I'm still friends with them. But I'll tell you a funny story. When I got deployed the first time, I got deployed 3 times, but I got deployed the first time. You cannot make this up. I got deployed out of Fort Meade, and I got deployed with a vascular surgery set that DeBakey had used during the Korean War. Okay, literally. And I went up to Colonel's, and you can't make this up. Colonel Slaughter was the infantry commander that put me on the C-140 on my way to Saudi Arabia and then Iraq. And I said, Colonel, and he had, like 9 rows, Silver Star with Valor, 2 Purple Hearts, blah, 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 3 tours in Vietnam. And I said, Colonel, I don't have a neurosurgical set. And I'm getting deployed with a vascular surgeon. And that meant nothing to him. Okay. And he looks at me and he said, Major, he said, what do you need a neurosurgical set for in wartime? I said, well, sir, and I didn't know how to explain. This guy doesn't know the difference between a vascular surgery set, what the Bakeys are, and a cross clamp for the aorta is versus a burr hole for the drill. So he says to me, what do you need? And I said, I need things that you drill holes in the head with. And this, I'm explaining to him, I'm making pictures, and I'm standing at attention, of course, in this guy's office. And he says, you are the dumbest, I will not fill in the blank, I have ever met in my life. He said, I had 3 tours in Vietnam. He says, you don't need things to make holes in people's head. They come with holes in their head. And he said, now get on the goddamn plane and shut your mouth. So I got on the plane, shut my mouth. I get there, and there's no neurosurgical equipment. So I go to the signal corps, I get the the satellite thing, and I call the Surgeon General's office. And I said, I am deployed with a vascular surgery set. There are no neurosurgical sets in theater. And the Surgeon General says to me, are you the dumbest person I've ever met? How did you get on the plane and leave without a neurosurgical set? And I said, all right, clearly I'm the dumbest person that everybody has ever met, but I absolutely got on the plane without a neurosurgical set, and I was commanded to get on the plane. He says, you are the dumbest person we have in the Army. And I said, yes, sir, I know I'm the dumbest person. And so he says, I'll send all the neurosurgical equipment sitting in the Surgeon General's office. You should have picked it up, blah, blah, blah. So he says, I'll have that there to you in 48 hours. And sure enough, a helicopter lands about 48 hours later. And the warrant officer gets off the helicopter. He says, "Is there a Major Ellenbogen here?" On the side of the air runway. And he said, "I'm Major Ellenbogen." And he says, "Here are 8 neurosurgical, brand new spanking neurosurgical." He leaves all 8 of them. I said, "Sir, I just need one of them." He says, "You are a dumb you know what." He says, "I'm giving you all 8 of them. Shut your mouth and just sign for them." And so then I had to distribute 8 neurosurgery, but clearly the dumbest person in the world. So you just have to go in. My answer to you is go in with a sense of humor. I got a call from a resident who was formerly my resident. Now he's a fellow. And you take the Gretzky view of the world. Don't play the puck where it is. Play the puck where it's going to be. Your first job out of training, for crying out loud, don't think you're going to have a job like Commander Stacy Wolf or like George Buckley. You're not going to get that job. That job takes 20 years to get the job Stacy Wolf has right now. Okay, it took her 20 years of hard labor to get where she is right now.
Are you calling me old?
No, I'm calling you younger than me, Commander. You are younger than me, Commander. My point is that you didn't just inherit that job. You worked for it, and you worked your way, and you've earned everything you got. And so play the puck where it's going to be. So accept jobs that use your imagination, use your sense of humor, because your first job's not going to be your last job. So that's my advice to you. But there's probably a lot more questions out there. So sorry I told too many stories.
Hey everyone, Ryan Rad here from neurosurgerytraining.org. If you like that video, subscribe and donate to keep our content available for medical students across the world.